All right, howdy, howdy, YouTube, howdy, howdy, Twitch. How are we doing today? Welcome to the show. Jimmy Moreland here for you, voice actor, audiobook narrator, and music producer. And today on the stream, we're going to do like we always do. We've got some auditions to get through over on voices.com, Voice123, and over on ACX. That is the Audiobook Creation Exchange. It is Monday, and so there's lots of new stuff. We've got loads of auditions to jump into, so we'll get right to that. And after we're done with our auditions, assuming we get done with them all in time, we're going to edit a real podcast that we just recorded earlier today. And this is a podcast that needs to drop by tomorrow at 5 a.m. And that doesn't mean we need to get it in by 4:59 a.m. tomorrow. We actually need to get it in way earlier than that because it takes time for audio that you submit to actually propagate out to platforms. So we're on a bit of a time crunch today between editing that podcast and we've got a whole nother voiceover job. That's a big one that has to get done later today as well. But we're not going to be doing that one on stream. And we're not going to be like revealing the client or anything, but we can share that it is a client that we got from an audition that we did on this very stream. So thank you to everyone out there because you're helping make the magic happen. It's your presence that gives me a proper conversational read, I like to think. So let's jump into it and let's do some reading. We've got Pro Tools on the left. We've got voices.com on the right. Let's hit a refresh here and let's take a look here. We've got Tech Company, 3-minute promo. Here we go. Target audience includes investors, other businesses, yada, yada. This is probably an email about this very job we're looking at. It is. All right. Welcome to Indigo. Okay. All right, here we go. With increasing CO2 regulations and rising fuel and labor costs, interesting sentence construction there. With increasing CO2 regulations and rising fuel and labor costs, the heavy and expensive vehicles used to deliver people... Oh, used to deliver. Gotcha. It's what we get for trying to do a cold read, but it's important to do a cold read because you only get one chance. With increasing CO2 regulations and rising fuel and labor costs, the heavy and expensive vehicles used to... We got to really clear ourselves out for a second, so we're going to mute so that we don't gross you out. All right, we're feeling better. Let's go. With increasing CO2 regulations and rising fuel and labor costs, it was pretty good. With increasing CO2 regulations and rising fuel and labor costs, the heavy and expensive vehicles used to deliver people, food, and products are unsustainable. The world needs a transportation paradigm shift. Welcome to Indigo. Our breakthrough robotics inventions enable light, affordable, smart EVs with amazingly smooth and spacious ride experiences. That's going to be what we call good enough. Once we get properly warmed up, feeling good, we're gonna get through these things a lot quicker. Don't you worry. And rising fuel and labor costs, Here it is. Shite. Here we go. Fuel and labor costs, the heavy and expensive vehicles used to deliver people, food, and products are unsustainable. The world needs a transportation paradigm shift. Welcome to Indigo. Our breakthrough... Let's see here. We're going to eliminate this breath, not because we just eliminate breaths willy-nilly, but because of pacing. Welcome to Indigo. Our breakthrough... maybe it's a little bit too much. Maybe we keep this... The problem is that this breath doesn't lead into this particular take very well. So we're going to see if maybe we'll just paste in some silence here. Welcome to Indigo. Our breakthrough robotics inventions enable light, affordable, smart EVs. All right, that's everything. And we're going to send this out. Indigo. Indigo. Go. Go. And go. And go. Go. Put in our quote. Grab the file. Drop it in there. Send. Cool. All right. First audition of the day. Done. Next. American Made 2024. American Made. Okay. Love to see this. We've got a scratch project. Let's take a look and a listen here.
We are the early risers. We are mothers, fathers.
Okay, we get it. We get the idea. Very nice, very nice. It's always good to, it's great when you see a full product like that. You get an idea of what the imagery is going to be, the music, and an idea of the pacing from that scratch VO read. Now, that'll inform our read here. And that's good to go. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to jump right into it. For this one, we're going to want proximity effect. We're going to get right up on the mic. It's going to be a little dramatic. It's going to be good. We are the early risers, the highly driven, the ones motivated to get started each. We are the early risers, the highly driven, the ones motivated to get started, each and every day. We are mothers, fathers, the workers who make our communities thrive. We're the ones you pass on the street, sip coffee with, share stories with, and laugh with. At heart, we are creators, dreamers, men and women who craft legacies with our own hands, right here in America. To us, American Made is more than just a label. It's values like excellence, integrity, reliability. It's the promise of let's see where we are here. We might be able to stop there, but I should have done punch and roll all the way through here. I think we only had one stumble, though. We are the early risers, the highly driven, the ones motivated to get started. We are mothers, fathers, the workers who make our communities
Pretty sure
thrive.
I read it all the way through.
We're
here.
the ones you pass on the street, sip coffee with, share stories with, and laugh with. At heart,
Let's read this part again.
on the street, sip coffee with.
Where is that? There it
On
is.
the street, sip coffee with, share stories with, and laugh with.
Make that cut right here. There we go, and there. Okay. Let's see here. This brings us to like 40, just after 40 seconds. Typically for voiceover auditions, between 50 and 60 seconds is about what you want to read. So let's give them 50 seconds.
Integrity, reliability.
Where is that? Right.
Integrity,
Reliability.
It's the promise of craftsmanship that's more about the products we make. Integrity, reliability. It's the promise of craftsmanship that's about more than the products we make. It's about the quality, authenticity, and the pursuit of perfection.
What a sentence. Ooh, this is rough.
Reliability. It's the promise of craftsmanship that's about more. Integrity, reliability. It's the promise of craftsmanship that's about more than the products we make. It's about the quality, authenticity, and the pursuit of
Punch and roll that.
About the quality, authenticity, and the pursuit of perfection that it represents.
Oh my God.
About the quality, authenticity, and the pursuit of perfection that it represents. Precision and passion at its best.
Okay. Right there. We're kind of editing backwards here. We're gonna go ahead and edit the whole thing backwards because why not? So I know my hotkey in Pro Tools is Control plus Tab. to go back to the previous edit point. And we're done there. Apply our automatic crossfades. Turn on our noise reduction and go American Made 2024. American Made 2024. Go. Reply to job. Hit this. Hit our quote. Select the file. Already 16 people in line in front of us. Ooh, buddy. Oh, excuse me. We're running a loose stream today, people. Deal with it. Next up, sports video. I'm not really much of a sports guy. I don't really have like a lot of passion about doing a sports read, but let's take a look here. Bill Blaney's feverish passion for hockey. Yeah, I'm probably not the guy for this. So we're going to go ahead and pass on that. What do we got here? Corporate brand video. See, I'm your boring corporate brand video guy. I'm the guy for that. Okay. Let's go ahead and record enable. Here we go. For thousands of years, people and societies have always sought to connect, reaching for the stars, reaching for one another. We've made groundbreaking innovations that once seemed impossible, yet billions of people still struggle to connect. Whole societies remained distant and in the dark. Entire industries. Let's go ahead and punch and roll right there. These remained distant and in the dark. Entire industries are not connected until now. All right. Super simple. You know, they may be wanting something, they may be wanting something super dramatic, like the copy is pretty dramatic. So that might not quite be the read that they're looking for, but we're not going to stress over it too much. This is a numbers game, people. Corporate brand in the dark, sure. Reply. Here you go. Get the quote. Grab the file. And submit it. Here we go. All right. Luco, BVM conversion, Philadelphia. So I'm curious if they're actually looking for people from Philadelphia. Like, do you need a Philly accent here? American Red Cross, like, obviously, great organization. Like, would love to have that as a client. But for whatever reason, I never get picked for these auditions. We're going to go ahead and pass on it, though. It seems like they're likely looking for talent that isn't us. So we're going to go ahead and pass on it. And we've got another one that's basically the same job. We're going to pass on that. Power Red Tech Caddy Program. Oh, American Red Cross again. Okay. Another American. Okay. This happens a lot. Like a client, they've got a campaign that's like, they're getting this big campaign ready to go that has multiple different spots for multiple different kinds of media and different markets and everything. And so sometimes you can see a single client drop, like we just saw, 4 different auditions right there in one go. Happens pretty fairly often here. Competition opener. Want a voice with gravitas. Ross, who is this? Is this an actor that I should know? Maybe it is. Let's take a look. Where do I know this guy? Oh, he's strictly voice. Okay, so he does a lot of promo and stuff like that, I guess. All right. Seems like a guy that I should know. if I'm claiming to be a professional here, so maybe we'll save this and we're gonna go ahead and save him. Save to home. We're going to save that, and we're gonna look him up later and see what he's got to say. It seems like a good deal. Let's take a look here. But we're only a 90% voice match, and I'm going to make this complaint again.
Animation category. Let's just take a look at this. Do we think this is an animation job, or is this an online ad job? Best of Belron, our 12th competition to find our best technician in the world, the highest standards, the best skills, 30 compared. Like, this is promo. This is video narration. This is not animation. I don't care if it's animated. That doesn't make it animation. Voices, please, please, please make it to where when a client attempts to select animation, pop up like, are you sure? Do you know what animation is? Because a promo video like this is not animation. Like, there's no reason I shouldn't be 100% voice match on here, except that they incorrectly labeled their job as animation. It shouldn't be that. Animation is for the kooks, the theater kids out there with, like, animation reels that show off all their crazy voices. That ain't me. So that's a bummer. So let's move on here. First 5 demo. We're only a 90% voice match, and that's probably because it's animation. Let's see if it really is animation. It's not. First 5, South Carolina, was designed to transform the way families access public programs and services for their young children. This is not animation. Is this Looney Tunes? Is this... So annoying. I'm going to report this. Someone reported the last one. I'm going to report this one. Let's see here. We'll do this. Not an animation job. If I can type. Like, please, voices, please. So obnoxious to see that just constantly. Okay, 30 and a 15. Man, there are already 82 people in line in front of us. Looks like some kind of sale or something, probably. Yeah, okay. Seems like a good spot to do, but 82 people in line in front of us. Ain't no way we're getting that. Just like this. 81 people in line in front of us for a chemical safety e-learning. That's right in my wheelhouse. I would have a great time doing this, but 81 people in line. There's just no way we're even going to get listened to. Though, it's so short. This audition is so short. Whatever. We're here on the stream. We're trying to do some work, so let's do some work. Every chemical used in battery and fuel cell manufacturing presents a unique set of hazards outlined in their safety data sheets. The Global Harmonized System of Classification and Labeling of Chemicals uses the following symbols to specify those hazards. Okay, just one little edit there that I wanted to do. Let's see here. Is it here? Let's see if this edit sounds okay. Of chemicals uses the following symbols to Probably not, actually. I want to use, make a cut maybe a little bit later, maybe here. Is it here? Uses the following symbols to specify those hazards. That sounds great to me. Here we go. And we're going to call this, yeah, sure. Chemical safety. Reply. There. 500. And there we go. Send it. All right, get the next track ready to go. And here we go. BMW PGA promo. 110 responses ahead of us. Great budget, relatively speaking. It is a television ad. National, 13 weeks. I mean, the fact that it's very much finite, 13 weeks, and the fact that, I mean, yeah, BMW, yeah, you might be conflicting yourself out of cars for 13 weeks, and that's a bummer. But, wait, it says baseline takes in some comedic timing. There's something funny here. Okay. that it is coming to Castle Pines Golf Club, and everyone wants it to be perfect. So there's some character that's going to be doing something funny on screen. The BMW Championship, this August at Castle Pines Golf Club. Like, this could be really fun. Like, I love sort of wry, witty, comedic timing type reads. But, God, we're just not going to get listened. There's no way we're going to get heard. But we're here. We're on the stream. Let's do it. The 2024 BMW Championship is coming to Castle Pines Golf Club, and everyone wants it to be perfect. The BMW Championship, this August at Castle... Let's, it was a good first try, but let's give it another one. The 2024... Saying that year, for some reason, I'm having a hard time. The 2024 BMW Championship is coming to Castle Pines Golf Club, and everyone wants it to be perfect. The BMW Championship, this August at Castle Pines Golf Club. I don't know if you heard it, but I felt it. Weird sinus squeak that happened there. Sometimes it happens. Let's do the whole thing again. Feeling good. Feeling better anyway. The 2024 BMW Championship is coming to Castle Pines Golf Club, and everyone wants it to be perfect. And everyone wants it to be perfect. And everyone wants it to be perfect. The BMW Championship, this August at Castle Pines Golf Club. All right, we'll edit that together and call that good enough. Okay. We liked the last take here. And then I think here, pretty sure that's everything, right? Pines Golf Club, and everyone wants it to be. Let's preserve the new breath. So let's cut that there. Let's bring that to there. How's that? Pines Golf Club, and everyone wants it to be perfect. The BMW Championship. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of this breath because there's gonna be a cut there anyway. And everyone wants it to be perfect. The BMW Championship. This August at Castle Pines Golf Club. Little mouth click here. Hit that, get there. All right, grab everything. Hit our automatic crossfades. Turn on our denoiser. Bounce this out as BMW PGA promo. Here we go. Let's reply. Hit that. And then we'll put our quote like this, 290. Just over the midpoint of their budget. And reset for the next one. So our only real hope in that, 110 people in line in front of us, our hope is that for a project this big, maybe the client really does go through and listen to damn near everything. So maybe we do get heard. And we're 100% voice match on that. We kind of hope, it's kind of mean, but we're hoping that a good portion of those 110 other voice talent, we're hoping that a good portion of them have not done their homework and they're not a whole bunch of other 100%. We have no way of knowing, but that's sort of another little hope that we have, and that's just we've done the work to make sure that we are 100% voice match on things like that. So let's take a look here. This is another case where we see this tag here, worked together previously. We love seeing that because on the client end, when we submit an audition, they see something similar on their end. So we're very, very likely to be heard when we do these kinds of jobs. Let's take a look here. General of Ignia, he wants to help PC, primary character, player character. He has a hissing, low, and emotional voice. General, looks like this is some kind of a creature, perhaps. Let's take a look. This client does really, really good. Look at this. They give you an image of the character, background, pronunciations. They do so much good work in preparing voice talent to give them a good read. This might be a spot where we would, maybe we would do a fun FX voice. But this is actually a case that we're going to pass on it. Just based on vibes here. Glissando, which is a musical term. Glissando is, yeah. Let's see. Bard King Ilion's son. He wants to help play our character in a deep, soft, and emotional voice. We might do this one. This one's feeling more sort of natural and straightforward. It reminds me of, who's that character in The Witcher? At least the video games. I don't know if he's in the show. Let's see here. I can't remember his name. Do we do this, though? Let's see here. No, there's a reference to how Glissando should sound. Wait, what? Like, let's hear it. Let's hear the reference.
Wait, I recognize you.
So it sounds like they had a voice talent do this character in the past, and now, for whatever reason, that voice talent is not available. So we're trying to do like a voice match for what they've already got there. Maybe we do it. Evelyn, my darling, are you all right? That troll, he's not a danger. You recognized me as Ilion's son and wanted to use me to force the king to repair his bridge. We're going to pass on it. There's something about certain kinds of video game dialogue delivery that is, it's just the genre, it's the way it is, and it's changing slowly, but it's a very sort of forced kind of read that is just, it's not my favorite to deliver. And I know that, like, me having that thought in my head kind of makes me part of the problem, because I feel like I have to deliver that, and it's never going to change if the talent keeps doing that. I don't know. But we're going to move on for now. Let's see here. 31 responses in front of us. F.G. Wilson has been delivering cutting-edge products for nearly 6 decades. I think we're going to pass on this one. There's already 31 people in line in front of us. Pretty low budget. We're going to pass. What do we got here? Only 4 responses, but it's been reported multiple times here. It's an audio drama. Quite a long bit of text here. So they're going to record over Riverside. Riverside is a it's a platform that's similar to to Zoom in some ways. It allows you to do a video call with multiple parties, and Riverside records each party's audio in high quality, and it's just really good for recording podcasts in particular. And for something like an audio drama, I can absolutely see Riverside being an excellent way to record. So I can totally see that. So I don't know why necessarily this has been reported for incorrect performance data. Well, maybe the script is bad. Let's take a look. It's a full script, and we're wanting to read for Father Daniels. So he'll be in here somewhere. Let's see here. I mean, we can just do Control F. Father? Hello? No, not that one, not that one. Okay, let's do Daniels. Daniels. He's not even in the script. So, we understand. And I'm not going to read this entire script to maybe it's Father Daniels, his first name is, Barry. I'm not going to read this entire script to discover that. For the purpose of an audition, what this client should have done was just gone okay, here are lines that are representative of, the character. Here we go. Copy, paste. That's what you should do. But putting your entire script up and just sort of hoping that some talent out there is going to do all the work of parsing through that mess to figure it out. No. So we're going to pass on that as well. Here we go. This one's got a really low budget. Elsweaty? I assume that's electric, not electric. Yeah, no. Nope. affirmations podcast host. So I'm wondering what these people actually want. Do they want someone to just read prepared scripts, or is this going to be like an interview type of situation? Because yeah, just reading a script is totally one thing, but hosting a podcast is like hosting an interview radio show, and that is a very specific skill set that I would argue that most traditional voiceover talents don't possess. Not to say that they can't do it, but as someone who did years of morning radio, conducting interviews and sort of keeping things going, it's a skill set, and it's not something that that you can just like, oh yeah, I can do that. It takes some experience to sort of figure out what works and what doesn't and why. But this very much seems like it's going to be solo, you're just talking, and so that lends itself very well to a traditional voice talent taking over this thing. So, welcome to this 5-minute financial affirmations, the podcast that gives you the information and inspiration you need to make your financial goals a reality. Fine. Like I'm curious if this is like, if the idea is that this becomes a recurring gig. Like, so are you looking for someone like every week or every other week to do this, to read something of this length at this budget? Like, that would be pretty killer. That would be good, dependable money if that's what the deal is here, but we don't really know. And you know what? There are 87 people in front of us. We're just going to pass. Too many questions there. 61 people in front of us for a decent budget here, though. What is the looking for? Refined, textured, confident, buttery voice. I don't know if that's us, but we'll look at the text just to see what's going on here. Come on, please. Thank you. All right, what do we got here? Precision, craftsmanship, one of one experiences. Do you mean one of a kind? Do you mean one on one? Because one of one, that is luxury in the details. It takes precise insight to know what delights customers and creates to know what delights customers and create moments they never saw coming. Okay, that's fine. And while luxury in a fast-moving world can be a challenge, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be. There are so many weird. Okay, did AI write this? Is this AI copy? Like, I don't mean to call out any of these people, but this feels like AI. Like, hi, dear ChatGPT, can you please write me some luxury copy? I'm gonna pass on this. There's just too many. There are things that they aren't necessarily grammar errors. Like, arguments could be made that, like, hey, this is technically correct or whatever, but are they clear, concise, conversational? Like, those sort of touchstones for good copywriting, like clear, concise, conversational. Like, it needs to be those things. It's relatively concise, obviously, when you're trying to fit within a 30-second or whatever, like you have to be, but it's not super clear. It's definitely not conversational. And so, it just didn't, I didn't get a warm fuzzy from that copy, so we're going to pass on it. Let's see what this email is, and it is a Voice123 audition. Now remember, voices.com auditions are super time sensitive, so if we get a little email notification that we've got a voices.com job waiting for us, we're going to drop whatever we're doing, in most cases. We're going to drop what we're doing, we're going to check out that job and see if we want to do it right away. Voice123, however, the way things get sent out, it is not super time sensitive. You should still try to, just as good practice, be fast with your auditions on Voice123, but it's not critical in the way it is on Voices. So what we're going to do first here, we're going to go off a full screen so that I can check each one of these jobs to make sure that we're not about to dox somebody. On Voice123, clients have the option to use like a name anonymizer, to where instead of their last name showing up, it just says like client number, blah, 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 blah. The vast majority of people on here use that anonymization feature, but occasionally we see a first and last name, and we're just trying to make sure that none of these, okay, and we confirmed, none of these jobs are going to be doxing anybody. But we just got this one in. So you can see this came in 1 minute ago. We saw the email come in. And yet there are already 12 proposals. How can that be, Jimmy? Well, it's not because like 12 other people were just like ready and they got an audition in within 1 minute. That is not at all what happened. I am in the top 20% of talent on Voice123. And that is after months and months of salvaging my position in the algorithm after just totally ruining myself in my first week or two on the website. Voice123, you have to do everything you do on this website, you have to have the algorithm in mind. So you really need to think like, am I really a good fit for this audition or not? Like, you need to be able to assess your own, not necessarily just your talent, but that is a factor, but assess your own sort of voice print, your own demographic profile, all of those things, and determine job by job, like, do I really have a high chance of being the right voice to where when the casting director or client hears me, like, do I have a high likelihood of being like, aha, that's it? And just having that honesty and self-awareness and everything is absolutely crucial to succeeding, because if you get onto this website and you go like, oh my God, look at all these auditions. There's so many auditions. I'm going to submit something for every single one because I'm the best actor out there and my voice is going to be great on all of these things. And you wake up a week later and you are in the bottom 20% of voice talent on the website, and suddenly the auditions that you see are doo-doo. There are no doo-doo auditions on Voice123. They're all great. Every job is perfect and great and has value. But your life will be much more difficult the lower you are in the algorithm. So you need to take care with every job that you consider before you commit, because you can regret it. So, with that in mind, let's look at this first job that just came in, and then we'll go through and do our sort of house cleaning. But right now, let's just see if we want to be fast on this one, because it just came into us. Let's see here. Looking for a bold, confident, and matter-of-fact voice for Spectrum movers. Think Jason Sudeikis, a to-the-point read. The goal here isn't to choose Spectrum, it's to let people know that Spectrum is the obvious choice. Okay. Let's take a look. We actually might do this. Let's see here. Zooming in here a little bit. We've got some sound effects. We've got visuals. Love to see this stuff. You love to see, like, anywhere where you've got, like, a good sense of the visuals, of what kind of graphics and titles are going to be on the screen. This gives you an idea of the sound effects that are going to be going on. Like, this is great. You love to see this. And they have very helpfully highlighted our lines. When you can set up secure Spectrum Advanced Wi-Fi in minutes, you can feel at home in minutes. Okay. We're going to read it like that. That feels good. So we're going to go for it. When you can set up secure Spectrum Advanced Wi-Fi in minutes, you can feel home. Let's read the right words. When you can set up secure Spectrum Advanced Wi-Fi in minutes, you can feel at home in minutes. You're not home until you're connected. Get moving with Spectrum. With Spectrum's easy self-install kit, you can feel at home in minutes. When you can set up reliable Spectrum internet, when you can
let's go ahead and do a quick edit on what we've got, and we'll get that last read in just a second here. We're deleting these breaths here because there's going to be an edit point there anyway. We otherwise would prefer to preserve those edit points. So let's see here. What's this last one? When you can set up fast. Wait, which one did I? Am I skipping one here? 1, 2. Here's number 3. Okay. Home in minutes. When you can set up reliable Spectrum internet in minutes. Home in minutes. When you can set up reliable Spectrum internet in minutes, you can feel at home. When you can set up reliable Spectrum internet in minutes, you can feel at home in minutes. You can feel at home in minutes. Okay, we're going to construct this. Here's the part of the read that we liked, and then here's that part of the read that we liked. Okay, next. We normally wouldn't give them, we're kind of giving them the whole store here, but we want to give them, close to 50 seconds on this, so we're going to go ahead and do it. You can feel at home in minutes. When you can set up fast, gamer-ready Spectrum internet in minutes, you can feel at home in minutes. When you can set up fast, gamer-ready Spectrum internet in minutes, you can feel at home in minutes. When you can set up fast Spectrum gig internet in minutes, you can feel at home in minutes. You're not home until you're connected. Get moving with Spectrum. Okay. Paste that thing in there. Paste that thing there. When you can set up fast... Nope, actually. Almost made a big boo-boo. In minutes. When you can set up minutes. You're not home until you're connected. Get moving with Spectrum. Okay. We're going to call that good enough. Spectrum movers. Spectrum movers. Yes. Apparently I've read... I think I recall that. Yeah, we've read Spectrum copy before, and it was a similar campaign, I guess, or maybe even a different part of the same campaign here. It happens. We're going to accept invite. All right, what do we have here? Okay, we're going to do something a little special on this. First, we're going to delete what's here. We're going to paste in our generic. And I'm going to mention that I am indeed a Spectrum customer. Here we go. And we're grabbing... Oh, no. This is annoying. This was Spectrum Movers, right? Spectrum Movers. For some reason... Here we go. It's saying this is from May... All right, we're going to... we're going to go back to this, and we're going to make sure that this actually bounces out the way we want it to. So let's try that again. We're going to use the _1. Now we're going to come back here, and we're going to go date created, Spectrum Movers 1. There it is. And submit. There we go. And turn you off. Come back here. And we're ready to go. Let's go back to projects. Okay, now we're going to let's get rid of the projects that we know we're not going to do. So the easiest way to eliminate projects on Voice123, we just got an email. It's a voices job. Let's go. Let's take a look. Reload this page. 2 responses already. Disposables, 30 seconds. Disposable what? Tone should be serious and angry. People's lives are at stake. We're anti-vape, I guess. Or this is stop the Chinese vape crisis.
So this is probably something that's like, it's probably like American vape manufacturers. It's like, the problem isn't the kids vaping, it's that they're vaping the wrong vapes. They need to vape our vapes. Whatever. We're gonna give it a read here. I'll read about vapes for $500 to $750. You bet. I have scruples, and they're not at play here. Almost all vapes are manufactured in China and then sold here illegally. But if this is how it's made, and this is how it's tested, and this is how it's smuggled in, why is it allowed to be sold like this? Illegal, illicit. Illegal, illicit, dangerous, and right under our noses. Tell local enforcement. Protect our communities. Stop the Chinese vape crisis before it's too late. Stop the Chinese vape crisis before it's too late. Before it's too late. Okay, we're going to edit that together. I love these dramatic, like, political style reads. Almost all vapes are manufactured in China and then sold here illegally. But if this is how... Like, just a subtle thing, not really subtle, but just an obvious thing that we do here is when you're reading anything that's political or close to it, like, there are obvious, like, not dog whistle, but like hot button words that if you lean on them just a little bit, it lets the client know that you know what you're doing. So China, like, there are people out there in this country who anytime China is like, oh my God, like the big boogeyman. And so I'm just letting the client know that I know, and I lean on the word China a little bit. Manufactured in China and then sold here illegally. But if this is how it's made, and this is how it's tested, and this is how it's smuggled in, why is it allowed to be sold like this? Illegal, illicit. Right. Like this. Illegal, illicit, dangerous, and right under our noses. Tell local law our communities. Stop the Chinese vape crisis before it's too late. And I think we do this. Protect our communities. Stop the Chinese vape crisis before it's Stop the Chinese vape crisis before it's too late. Maybe we keep the first read of that. Let's hear. Our communities. Stop the Chinese vape crisis no, I think we take the new one. Protect our communities. Stop the Chinese vape crisis before it's too late. Sure. Nice and dramatic. We're going to call this Vape Crisis. Here we go. Reply. Hit that. Put our quote. Select the file. Here it is. And 10 people have already gotten their auditions in. We might be earlier, if not for us jib-jabbing on the stream here, but that's okay. I like jib-jabbing on the stream. And a new job has come in, and we're seeing this before the email has even gone out. So let's take a look here. Only a 90% match. That's a bummer, but if we can get in super, super early, that we might be all right. Okay. They want the Bruce/Vince Buffer thing here. Wait, what? This will be used as an intro to a live event that our clients hold each quarter for their patients. The is to be very hyped tone with almost a WWF feel of let's get ready to rumble. Okay, I get what you're saying, even though it hasn't been the WWF for 20 years? But anyway, coming down here, hope, no punctuation, hope. It is a word that describes your perspective in times of challenge and shows your outlook on the path you are currently on. Is anyone here ready for more hope? Are you hungry for better health? If you can't say anything nice. Let's go back to Voice123. Okay, for Voice123, for just clearing out our audition queue a little bit, rather than just going through them one by one from the top down, we're gonna first just to give ourselves some breathing room. We're gonna delete things that, and that's the one that we just passed on. We delete things that are obviously like we're not even gonna look at them. And right now, the clearest one is this one right here. So let me zoom in a little bit here. Ooh, here we go. So these two numbers, 33/25, this means that this client has requested to hear 25 proposals. And the first number is the number of proposals they have received. So they have received more proposals than they even asked for, which means that our likelihood of being heard is very, very, very low. So we're going to pass on that. Let's take a look on the next page here. It looks like none of these other ones are full, if you will. So that's interesting. So we've got a bunch of jobs here from the same client looking for Civil War soldier voices. Let's just pick, like, we're actually going to pick the one of these already has a couple responses on here. And we're going to get a vibe for what the rest of these jobs are going to be. And if we don't get a great vibe, then we're gonna clear out all of the jobs. But let's take a look here. So this client has posted a whole ton of projects, so that's a good sign. They review 100% of the proposals that they get, which is amazing, especially with that many projects posted. My God. Okay. Antietam. Okay. Well, this one we wouldn't do anyway because it's a New Jersey accent. I feel like I've seen this audition call before. So this is sort of like a Ken Burns style, like it's a documentary style where you're hearing first-hand accounts of people who experienced the Civil War. So but this one for sure we're not going to do because I cannot do an authentic New Jersey accent. So let's look at another one here. Let's try to find one that really fits our age range. So if like 16 to 25 years old, that's definitely not us. So we can go ahead and get rid of that. 25 to 30 years old, like I can fake it. Massachusetts, Ohio. See, yeah, they're wanting a little bit of accent work, whereas I feel like usually when you hear the Ken Burns type stuff, you do hear some accent work, but it's usually sort of a general, like, if it's a Confederate soldier, it's "My dearest Margaret," that sort of generic Southern sound here. What do we got here? Massachusetts, New York. I think we're going to pass on all of these because they really are wanting younger voices. I'm pretty sure for this client, for this documentary product, that on this stream we have done voices for like some of the generals or colonels or politicians, some of the slightly older voices, because I am older than some of those things there. But so now here they're wanting, it's probably the same client. And they're wanting Abraham Lincoln. And, the modern understanding of the Abraham Lincoln voice, largely informed by, Daniel Day-Lewis's performance and all that, is interesting. I determined as soon as the rebel army should be driven out of Maryland to issue a proclamation of emancipation, I am going to fulfill that promise. So I don't have... For this budget, I don't have the interest in working up a good Abraham Lincoln. If it was 10 times that, yeah, sure, I'll work up an Abraham Lincoln, but not at that budget. Sorry. James Levin and Peter Alexander, and it looks like it's the same client. Georgia and Georgia. I feel okay about my Georgia accent, but not enough to risk
my spot in the Voice123 algorithm. Here we go. We've got a different client finally. Okay, TSR VPOP. They want a Source Connect session on Wednesday the 22nd. That would be fine, so long as it doesn't conflict with this stream. It's okay. 13 weeks. We don't know what kind of media, but it's Arizona only. Looks like these are probably Vietnamese names. I have visited Vietnam. Okay. Not even going to attempt this stuff. I could probably, if this was an audiobook, if I was doing, whether it be a Vietnam War, like nonfiction story or what have you, memoir, that kind of stuff. I've done memoirs for people who fought in World War II. I've done memoirs for veterans of various wars, but I have yet to do a memoir for a Vietnam veteran. But in those kinds of cases, like, I'm gonna have to do the work to get these pronunciations right. But in the context of an audiobook, that's one thing. For here, not only is it important you don't just get it right in the context of relaying facts, you need to get it right in that, like, the listener sort of like, they receive it as just a conversational part of what's going on. And with that, they're certainly also looking for someone who authentically represents this community. So they are looking for Vietnamese/Vietnamese American talent who can say those things conversationally, and with some connection to the listeners that are their target audience. So that is obviously not going to be us. What do we got here? Left Arm Treasure Society. What does that mean? This is SAG-AFTRA. So does that mean we have to be SAG-AFTRA? Let's see here. Well, we aren't going to be doing this anyway, because they're casting someone who is like a Jewish rabbi, and that's not us. And I'm not even sure about I haven't had enough exposure to union stuff to where I have a good handle on what's going on there. But when I do get into that area, that time in my career, that's a good problem to have. But right now, we don't have that problem. We just know that this job isn't for us because we do not fit the specs. What do we got? Law, Order, and Love. Is this an audiobook? Let's take a look here. This is an audiobook, and they've got super tight deadline. Let's take a look here. Okay, we got to bring up the calculator. Here we go. Here's the calculator, and here's the job. Okay, recording length, words is 37,500. 37,500. And then the budget is $750. So that's $186 per finished hour. That is not great. It's not like insultingly low like a lot of the jobs that we see on the pay-to-plays, but it's not great. If this was on ACX, I wouldn't even see it because I don't even have anything under $200 in my filters to show. I won't take on a new client at this rate. Like if you are a new author or publisher or what have you, and you're reaching out to me, like, yeah, sure, I'm super interested in your project. I would love to help you, but if you want to secure space on my calendar to actually work on your book, $250 per finished hour is my rate. And I book plenty at that rate. I have no complaints, and my clients have no complaints for what I deliver for that rate. So this is not a professional, an acceptable professional rate. Yeah,
220, I think, is like the absolute minimum for like, this is a fair market professional rate. And especially when you are dictating like these like really hard deadline, like wanting us to record within these times and everything, and on a short notice, like, nah. Good luck to this client, but I have a feeling that they are going to blow right through these deadlines because they're not going to be able to find the kind of talent who can deliver what they want on the schedule that they want at that rate. At double that rate, you could find all that. Like, what's the triangle of like good, fast, and cheap? Like, they're wanting good and fast. They're wanting it all. They're wanting good, fast, and cheap. You cannot have all three. So if you want good and fast, then you need to up your budget because that's not going to be cheap. If you want to be this cheap, then you're going to either have to like really, really slacken this recording deadline, or what seems likely, they're going to have to just be fine with not getting the best talent, which is not to disparage my fellow talent on this website. And maybe these 26 people who have submitted proposals, maybe they're super pros and they're all like way better than me. That's totally possible, and I wish them luck. Maybe they're just in a different financial situation where they can make $186 per finished hour work for them. Amazing. That's not where I am in my career. I'm not going to take projects for $186 per hour. Like, not going to do it. Not going to do it. So, good luck to the client and to the talent there. But we are going to decline and specifically say budget disagreement. But again, this is not egregious. $186 an hour is not egregious. Like, a year or so ago, I might have taken that job. But now, nah. Okay, we've got a voices.com job that just came in, so we're going to take a look at it real quick here. This is a online ad. Who will Rob choose, Chase or Bryce? Will Rob fling it or catch it? Tune in to find out when the Mets meet the Phillies. Okay, so it's a straight sports promo. You know what? Since this is voices.com, we talked about it on Voice123. You get dinged by the algorithm for submitting things that you're not really suited for. Voices, however, voices.com, it's a free-for-all. Like, just, can you be fast? Can you get it in? Like, that basically will help you decide. So we're going to go ahead and just do this. Who will Rob choose? Chase? Who will Rob choose? Chase or Bryce? Will Rob fling it or catch it? Tune in to find out when the Mets meet the Phillies during the MLB World Tour London Series. I don't understand what the hell is going on here. What is this? Who will Rob choose, Chase or Bryce? This makes it sound like it's like a Bachelor type thing. Will Rob fling it or catch it? Like, okay, yeah. Tune in to find out when the Mets meet the Phillies during, and then it's a sports thing. Maybe I'm just dumb. I admit I'm not a sports guy, but this is confusing to me. All right, let's just do it. Who will Rob choose, Chase or Bryce? Will Rob fling it or catch it? Tune in to find out when the Mets meet the Phillies during the MLB World Tour. Tune in to find out when the Mets meet the Phillies during the MLB World Tour London when the Mets meet the Phillies during the MLB World Tour London Series. All right, we're going to edit that together and be fine with that. We had a little bit of a truck passing through situation, but I think it's going to be fine. And then I think we're going all the way. Jesus. All right, you, and then you. Let's. Who will Rob choose, Chase or Bryce? Will Rob fling it or catch it? Tune in to find out when the Mets meet the Phillies during the MLB World Tour London Series. Right? Tune in to find out when the Mets meet... Cool. That sounds good to me. Let's go. Turn on our D-click.
We're going to call this MLB London. Reply. Turn this off. Directed session. There we go. 19 responses ahead of us. That's how fast you got to be. All right, let's go back to Voice123. All right, we just passed on that project, and that is our Voice123 queue done. Let's look at ACX, the Audiobook Creation Exchange. Let's hit reload, see if there's anything new here. So we are, as usual, we have to bring up our filters. It, for whatever reason, it remembers our budget filter, and you can see here, that $186 per finished hour, I wouldn't even see it, because I only have the 200 to 400 bucket checked. The 400 to 1,000 bucket, I find, is usually maybe these are real projects, but I am skeptical about the realness of these projects. Like this one, I'm gonna say it right here. Ain't no way this author is paying $1,000 to $2,500 to get this book produced. There's no way it's happening. I'm sorry. Because look at the cover. They didn't pay but $20 for someone on Fiverr to make this cover. So you think they're going to pay a narrator $400 to $1,000 per finished hour? Ain't no way. Not happening. Like, if this author sees this live stream and takes umbrage that, like, show me receipts, show me that you have actually hired a narrator and completed the transaction, and I will delete this entire channel. I just don't believe it. Anyway, let's go back to our selected budget with lots of real projects. And the one thing that ACX always forgets, even though it remembers my budget, it forgets my gender. So let's take a look at these. Quite a few new ones here. We've got 4 new ones because we've seen the blue iris. These ones up here are newer. So what we're going to do is we're going to open each of these in a new tab and just look at them one at a time. Okay. Hello. Let's see if this is Swift. He's smart and loyal, skilled and focused. He broke her heart to save her life. Katie Harris can't understand why the only man she's ever loved has turned his back on her. He vanishes into the night without explanation. Not unusual for him. Okay, so this is probably going to be a dual narration because here it says male or female or gender neutral, and that I have discovered tends to be how authors are communicating that they're looking for dual narration. So let's look here and see if they say so. They've included no information, like maybe it's on the script or whatever. We're probably not the right narrator for this. Let's take a look at this email here. Oh, we've got a voices.com email. We gotta go check it out. Let's reload. Bring this down over here. Corporate videos. You know I love a corporate video. All right, let's do it. Let's be fast, fast, fast. Discover the power of collaborating with other science professionals like you and explore the possibilities as a society member. Ready to explore your options? Loud truck passing. Discover the power of collaborating with other science professionals like you and explore the possibilities as a society member. And explore the possibilities as a society member. Ready to explore your options? Ready to explore your options? Ready to explore your options? We're going to edit what we've got. I'm not going to take that first take at all. And I think we're here for this part of the cut. And then we're taking the third take there. Here. We're going to give him 2 reads.
Ready to explore your options? Discover the power of collaborating with other science professionals like you and explore the possibilities as a society member. Ready to explore your options? Ready to explore your options?
Okay. Those are quite different reads. Very important if you are going to give more than one read, they need to be different. They need to be different enough to really justify the extra time that this casting director might be spending listening to your reads. Okay. Corporate videos. We're going to put the job number here, 720-317. There we go. Reply. That. Come on. Reply. All right. We're going to do this, and I'm going to put the extra note here. I've given you 2 takes. Thanks. Hit our quote. Boom, boom, boom. Select a file. There it is. And there are 15 people in line ahead of us. You got to be fast on voices, I tell you what. Here we go. Get the next one ready to go. And let's go back to ACX. Again, looking at this one, we're not the right narrator for this. I have no experience doing dual narration romance. I don't have an established partner with whom I do those kinds of things. Usually, like, romance narrators, like, you, if that's what you want to do, you'll through process of, however the process goes, you'll find someone that you click with as a narrating partner who, like, you work together well. You sort of establish all your processes for delivering files and yada yada. So, like, most dual narration romance teams continuously work as a team. So, like, they might see this and, like, hop on a Zoom call and be like, "Hey, what do you think of this one? Okay, yeah, let's collectively submit an audition for this or that project." So that I believe is how those things go. But we're gonna pass on it. The New Girl Next Door, Surprised by Love, Book 3. Again, this will be a dual narration. I'm almost positive here. There's got to be. They don't say it here. It's interesting that they're not putting any kind of note in, like, hey, like, if we're looking for a dual narration, that's certainly what they're looking for here, and that's not us here. Let's take a look at this, though. Devin's Dreams. A long project, right at 13 hours, about this title. They're looking for a British accent. So that's not us. I can do a British accent if smaller characters have British accents, but doing an entire 13-hour book in a British accent? Absolutely not. That is not authentically us. Listeners who are paying attention will detect it and will be annoyed by it. If it's just a small one-off character, having your accent be like 90-95% there is fine. Listeners understand that it's just one person doing all these different accents and voices and things like that. But for the main body narration, it's got to be right. Also, a note for, we always talk about, like, authenticity, and that, authenticity in casting is super important. And as an individual voice talent, you sort of have to know what your part in that equation is, and that is to know what you're not appropriate for. So that can be as simple as, like, me knowing, like, yeah, British, I'm not going to do that. But it's also noticing, for example, on the cover of this, we haven't really read anything here. But right here on the cover of this book, there is the new pride flag. And that doesn't discourage me. But if you have some kind of problem with being associated with something that has that on the cover, then
you shouldn't send an angry message. Like, you shouldn't, like, you just shut up and move on. That project's not for you. Just something to keep in mind. Likewise, like, if I saw a project, I can't think of a parallel, but there, just use your common sense, know what things are for you and are not for you, and just move on if it's not. But again, we're not British, so that's the reason that we're moving on from this project. Going into here, pardon me, the memoir of a reasonable man. Well, I'm not reasonable, so I'm going to move on. Actually, let's just take a look here. Pardon me, James Gordon, natural born storyteller, da-da-da. Okay, but what do we, okay. Accent, not specified. Good Cajun accent. Okay. Well, that ain't us either. Yeah, I can't put myself up with a Cajun accent. Again, that's a case where I've done audiobooks that called for, like, a character has a Cajun accent, and that's one thing. But doing the entire book, a memoir where the first person character, like, has a Cajun accent, that is not us. So no audiobooks that are suitable for us. If we were really hungry for audiobook right now, then we might pop over into we might dip down into the lower budget range if we were desperately hungry for work, but we're not. Likewise, we might pop over into royalty share. Royalty share is like, it's a long game. You got to have hefty savings and do tons and tons of royalty share projects with the hope that 1 or 2 out of 10 or 20 are going to be capable of slowly sort of building up to where you've got a forecastable, consistent income from royalty sales there. That is a rough way to make it. I would rather just, here's the audio, give me the money, we're done here. Like, that makes life a whole lot easier, and it makes it much easier for me to forecast my bills and my budget. Now, we've got some time left on the stream, and so, as we discussed at the very beginning, we're going to edit a podcast. Now, I've talked about finances and things like that on this stream, and, I mean, even just in what we've done today here, I consider voiceover work and audiobook work 2 different streams of income. Yes, they both rely on my voice being healthy and me being here in the booth for a certain amount of time every day. But that's still a diversification. It's a different kind of work. The sort of month-to-month cycles, because those kinds of work, they're a bit cyclical. Voiceover more than audiobooks. And voiceover, you tend not to book out as far, at least where I am in my career right now. I'm not booking out months in advance, whereas audiobook work, like, you can get booked out months in advance for audiobook work. So in addition to voiceover and audiobook work, I also have podcasts. I host a podcast for a corporate client. It is a heavily business-focused podcast. It's not a podcast where the goal is to get 1 million listeners and, you're going to monetize it by reading ads on the podcast. That's your Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. That's your, like, a lot of your comedy or your whatever, your Joe Rogans or whatever, those kind of podcasts. That's not what this is. This is an industry-facing podcast. It is meant for other people in the industry to hear and to sort of develop more and more trust in the people that you hear on this podcast. Trust them as industry experts and people who are perhaps interested in going into business in this industry. They would go like, well, these people have this podcast and it sounds like they know what they're doing. And, they talked about all these ideas that I haven't even considered. Man, I guess I should give them a call and give them bags of money to help me with my business idea. So that's the point of this podcast. So it's not, like I said, not broad mass appeal. You know, in the initial pitch to this company for this podcast, like I had to sort of like really lay this out. Like, listeners are not a metric by which we should judge the success of this podcast. Like month to month, like if it's 0, then obviously that's not good. But if we stay between 20 and 50 listeners, that's fine, because those listeners are so much more valuable than the 1,000 we might get if we, changed our metadata and our tags a little bit, because those 1,000 listeners, they're never going to convert into clients or what have you. But we've been doing this for, God, I want to say nearly a year. It's been going really well. Client is really happy, and it's kind of fun to produce. I'm learning a lot. Like, I do have a business degree, but I haven't really had to flex that muscle very much in the last couple of years, even though I am running a small business as voice talent. So we're going to go ahead and open up our podcast template project. Save our audition template. So this is our podcast template project. It's mostly blank right now. What I do have on here is, this is our opening music. If I zoom out and scroll to the right, we've got a couple little things that, they're little recurring segments that each have their own bits of music. So this little bit of music here is what plays after I introduce a new guest. This little bit of music is a fun little thing that plays when we... So the podcast it's about the alcohol industry, and not in the sense of like, oh, it's, for bartenders and stuff. This is more for for people who are starting their own alcohol brands, and they're curious about like import and export and marketing strategy and just supply chain. It gets really, really deep into the weeds. And so it's a very niche audience, but we still like to keep things light and hopefully make it somewhat interesting for someone else who's in the car. When someone's listening to this, like really focused on the business aspect, we're hoping that their passengers in the car aren't dying of boredom. So my job is to try to sort of like insert a little bit of humor there, here and there, and keep things a little bit light while still getting the deep, weedy information out there. So we ask new guests, we ask them what their favorite drink is, and we've got a special music bed for when that happens. In fact, why not? We'll play some of these different beds. So the intro music goes like this. Is it playing? I'm not hearing it. Where is our... Oh, let's just unsolo it. Here we go. Jam, total jam. And then here's the little sort of musical stinger that plays when we introduce a guest. Come on. Let's turn off that pre-roll. Really simple. And then when we ask our fun question here, it's got all this automation on it right now, so it's going to sound a mess, but... So there's the fun thing there. And then we have our outro music here. I'll just start it in the middle here. Which is, if you're noticing, paying close attention, that's actually the intro music as well. So the outro music here, let's see here. Something I know about the podcast, we recorded it this morning. I know a couple of things. First, I know that I'm not going to have to use this bit of music, and I'm not going to have to use this bit of music. We've got it's a repeat guest who doesn't need the little special introduction thing, and we don't ask him the what is your favorite drink question. So all we need is the intro music and the outro music. So that makes life super easy. Further, we don't have a third guest, so I'm going to hide that track. So all we've got is my audio and my co-host's audio. That's it. The other tracks that you see here, so like I've got a bus
just for the music. It's unnecessary because the music is all on one track anyway. But perhaps when I created this template, maybe I had other plans. But whatever. It ain't broke, so I'm not going to fix it. I do have a bus for all of the voices, so that's where I'll put my my RX, our noise reduction, will go on that, so that every voice gets a D-click on it, and then those can be sort of also just another little minor layer of compression. And then I've got another bus here. What is this bus doing? This bus isn't really doing anything. That's all right. We're going to leave it. But then on the master channel, obviously, that's where the music and vocals come in, and they get yet another layer of compression on them. Looks like mostly it's just the limiter at that point, which is fine. Music isn't a huge element here. There's only a few seconds every episode where there's a bed situation where the music is playing under voice, and I've got some side-chained compression happening there. Voice talent, you have no reason to know or worry about side chain compression, but my music heads out there will know about that. We're going to go ahead and extend this out to be the full screen here. Drag that a little bit there so we've got some more room. So we're going to import our audio here. So I recorded, we record the podcast on riverside.fm, which is a wonderfully easy platform to work on. Have been pretty satisfied with it thus far. Here we go. Add the files. Done. Drop it into the clip list over here so that I can drag these exactly where I want them. Me and my co-host, Ian. Okay. So, now I know I do it's very helpful. I like editing my own work. I'm sure if someone else was to edit, if I was just to send this off to some kind of podcast editing service, I'm sure there would be lots of things in here that would annoy them. But because I know how I work, I know how things are when I'm the one creating them. It's not annoying because it's me. I know what I'm doing for my own workflow. So we're going to jump into it and see here. So I know that I do a whole intro, introduce my co-host, and we go from there. We're off to the races. So let's, our first thing here is we're going to do a very, very broad level setting here. So it looks like Ian, he was using a setup that basically has like an automatic gain control. So that makes his initial volume levels a little bit hotter and a little bit more consistent across the board. But my audio, even though at a glance it might not look it, my audio is much higher quality, which means I just have more latitude with what I can do to mess with my audio, whereas Ian's is going to require quite a bit of noise reduction in order to make it really broadcast ready. So let's just start with my audio and we'll just see where we are. Welcome to the MHW. All right. Welcome to the MHW Mark podcast, where we take deep. I'm pretty sure I got through this whole thing without a mistake. Let's start right here. So I'm lining up this big peak here of welcome with the peak of this drum hit. So looking up here in the music at this waveform, this drum hit hits right here, and it hits during the decrescendo, during the down part of this volume automation. This line here is volume automation. So the volume comes down by some amount of dB right here, and I want to sort of, you don't want it to come in here. You want things to be really tight with your edits. So we're going to have that edit come in right here. I want that welcome to coincide with the kick drum, with that beat of the music here, and let's hear what that sounds like. Welcome to the MHW Mark podcast, where we take deep dives into various aspects of the alcohol industry. My name is Jimmy Moreland. MHW is a U.S. and EU beverage alcohol importer, distributor, and service provider. I'm joined today by my frequent co-host and friend, MHW's Ian Perez. How have you been, Ian? Welcome back.
Hey, Jamie, I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
All right. So you can see
our levels are pretty equal, but because this waveform is built so much of room reverb that we're going to have to do some funky stuff to bring him up a little bit. But that's all right. We're just going to bring him up right now, 2.6 across the board. And then later, once we've got things edited, later we're going to address the noise issues in Ian's recording. Right now, we're going to save this as a new copy. Save as, so that we don't save over our template, because it's very annoying when we do that. We're just going to call it E20, because this is episode 20 of the podcast, which is crazy to think we've been doing it that long already. So with whether you record on something like Riverside or even off of Zoom or Teams or whatever you've got, something that's important to me that I do is I manually, for every single change of speaker, I'm going to nudge things to where it feels like a natural conversation. Because there's nothing worse than listening to a podcast that's recorded not in person, and you hear that delay from speaker to speaker from the internet processing the audio. It's the worst. I hate it. So even if that exists in the recording here, I'm going to nudge things in space and make it, just through the magic of editing, make it seem like it really was a natural conversation. So let's listen to these two transitions here. How have you been, Ian? Welcome back.
Hey, Jamie, I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. Hear that long gap there? We're going to shorten this up.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. It's good to see you. It's maybe a little too quick. You don't want to be stepping over each other, but you definitely want it to be snappy.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. It's good to see you. It's been a little. So we're going to bring the fade out of this to right where like Ian starts to talk. Friend, MHW's Ian Perez. How have you been, Ian? Welcome back.
Hey, Jamie, I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. It's good to see you. It's been a little. Let's actually have that sort of cover up his noisiness just a little bit so that the decrescendo starts as he's talking, but the tail of it covers this transition just barely.
How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. It's good to see you. It's been a little bit. Now, there are different philosophies on this. If this was a news piece, it's not super appropriate to go through and edit like word for word all your ums and ahs. And I know that there are products out there that will sort of automatically edit out some of those things. I don't particularly trust them very much yet. I think you get a lot of weird artifacts. But as someone who ums and ahs a lot, I do like to edit out the ones that are able to be edited out transparently. And so to do that, you kind of just have to listen. Doing good. It's good to see you. It's been a little. See there, I repeat myself twice. Just that's one of my own little quirks that I do. Let's make sure that we're cutting it right. It's good to see you. It's been a little bit. We saw you on the we had the webinar episode. We saw you on the. Let's see here. We had the webinar. Here we're keeping the because it makes this transition make a little bit of sense. Like, yeah, there's a jump in my chain of thought because I was just trying to like construct a part of this outline on the fly, and that was really fun. And I hear that's had some good response. That's had some. Let's see here. Let's can we make this work? And I hear that's had some good responses. Yeah. Okay, that works fine. And I'm hitting. There's a very, very useful hotkey for changing editing modes in Pro Tools, and that is the tilde key. It's like the top left key. It's right under the escape key on a standard keyboard. And that changes if you look up here on the top left in Pro Tools, way up here, that changes your editing mode. There are 4 modes, and for editing music, the grid mode is very useful. But for editing anything with voice, Shuffle and slip are the modes that you want to use. I never use spot for anything. Maybe I should be, though. But shuffle and slip. Slip means if I cut this out, it just cuts it out, and nothing happens to this audio back here. Shuffle means if I cut this out, it's going to shift everything back here to the left to fill in this gap. So you see that, that's what happens there. And sometimes you want it to do one, and sometimes you want it to do the other. So I'll be swapping back and forth between those, and it's just a great tool. I think just about every DAW has a similar change in editing mode. I know the Adobe suite does. So it's just another case of like learning your tools and knowing what the best tool for the job is. Responses, yeah?
Yeah, we had a couple of
That's a little too fast. Responses, yeah?
Yeah, we had a couple of people reach out, which is always good. I know we didn't personally get to chat on that, so that's why I'm looking forward to this one. But yeah, like you said, we've had a good response to these podcasts, and yeah, looking forward to putting out more content and answering kind of some questions folks might have in advance of like maybe getting on a call with us.
Very good. Well, up here in Maine, let's see. We're going to delete that very good. It doesn't add anything to the conversation. It's something that it's like a tick that I tend to do. I like to try to like acknowledge like, good point, good job, before moving on to my next question. And I should stop that, but it's a tick, and I'm working on it.
Getting on a call with us.
Well, up here in Maine, in vacation land where I live, the weather finally feels like spring. It's wonderful and beautiful out there. How are things in New York, weather-wise and business-wise?
Weather-wise, it's good today. It's kind of either been torrential rain or sunny, so it's kind of like reminds me of being actually at home in Ireland, where like you leave the house with sun cream, sunglasses, shorts, raincoat, umbrella. So you have a chance of getting all the seasons in one. But I'm just happy it hasn't got super humid yet, which I know is probably any day or any week now. But in terms of New York, we have actually a couple of interesting things happening in the month of June.
Okay.
We have Bar Convent Brooklyn, which is a pretty good trade show in it's like second week of June. It is, as the name suggests, Bar Convent, very bartender focused. So if you're looking at attending, there's a really good opportunity to meet a lot of bartenders in like the New York metro area, the tri-state area. It's over 2 days, and it is in Brooklyn, in Industry City. So definitely worth attending for any brands looking at, like I said, growing in the city of New York, especially.
Let's fix that.
Growing.
Switch over to shuffle mode.
Growing in the city of New York, especially, and then potentially going to with a view of showcasing maybe the following year, depending on where you are on your journey. And then at the end of June, we have VinExpo New York.
We're going to delete this.
And then at the end of June, we have VinExpo New York, which is in the Javits Center, which is I think the week of the 24th, 25th of June. And that is primarily wine focused in the Javits Center, but there is a growing spirits hall within. So again, another good opportunity to meet some bartenders, some different distributors in the New York and tri-state areas too. So definitely two shows to put on your radar if you're in the area.
And so these are generally industry facing and not open to the public generally, right?
Thankfully, yeah, all industry focused. So bartenders have to be part of like I think the bartending guild. I forget the acronym. And then yeah, you need to be either an importer or working with the brands to be there. While some shows like I've been to that are open to the public can be fun and interesting, but just in terms of business and growing and getting the most out of minutes spent, it's really good to have it kind of closed doors so that you can kind of do as much as you can within the day. But not to say there isn't fun kind of towards the 5 p.m., 6 p.m. folks start clearing out. But no, it's a really good opportunity to, again, meet a lot of different distributors in the East Coast, kind of Midwest, depending on how big they are. And then, yeah, bartenders. So if you're a product very focused on bartenders and on premise, definitely one to attend.
Well, let's fix that.
To attend.
This one. Head over to shuffle. Here we go.
Definitely one to attend.
Well, I am awaiting my calendar invite. Well, I am awaiting my calendar invite to come on down to Brooklyn. I
would love to have you down.
Let's see here. I lost my train of thought there, but Ian was very helpful in sort of coming in there and picking up the slack.
We'd love to have you down. Honestly, you're part of the industry now.
Brooklyn.
We would love to have you down. Honestly, you're part of the industry now, so you got to go working on that. I definitely would second that motion.
Let's do that. All right. Well, all right. The magic of editing, being able to sort of like bridge in these, I don't know if I'd call them awkward pauses, but just, ebb and flow. Have it all be ebb or all be flow. Just being able to adjust it, super, super helpful. All right. Well, let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Can we make this edit right here? All right, let's get down to business. No, that sounds terrible. Let's just delete that whole thing. Can we? What does this sound like? Let's get down to business. What are we talking about today? What do we have on our plates?
I roll.
Oop, there we go. We have on our plates.
So a big part of my role in helping brands get off the ground and helping them build their brand, essentially, a very big part of it is glass that it goes in. It's super critical to not just the product itself, but to, for security reasons, getting it.
Let's see here.
For security reasons, getting.
So you can see we're leaving in a lot of ums. We're leaving in a lot of uhs. I think that's important because like people say that in their real lives, and I think listeners appreciate that. They don't tend to actually notice it really unless it becomes a distraction. So we don't delete all of them. We do in certain spots though, when the edit can be made super transparently and when there really is like, okay, we need to cut that out. So this one here, we're going to cut this out, but we're going to listen to this transition.
But for security reasons, getting it from A to B.
We're sort of preserving this little mouth noise that he makes, but let's see if we don't.
For security reasons, getting it from A.
I think it's fine.
From A to B, it's very, very important not just to look good, but it has to be functional too. And sometimes, depending on the brand.
See, like trying to delete this
and sometimes depending on the brand.
Because of the way that Ian speaks, that he'll start a sentence with an and it'll just morph. You can see it in the WAV file. It'll just morph right into the next word. And so trying to make that edit is almost impossible. And you know what? I don't think it adds anything to take that away. Like Ian he's Irish. He's got this sing-song quality to his voice that many of his countrymen have. And so, that's a note. That's a note that is an important part of that melody. So we leave that in.
And sometimes, depending on the brand, bottle can be overlooked quite easily. And other people obsess about it. So it's kind of like finding what are you looking for in a bottle? What options are out there? Considerations when selecting a supplier or selecting a bottle and all that fun stuff.
I think... Back that up just a little bit. We just heard our email notification. Let's check real quick to see if it is a voices.com audition. It is. We might actually want to swing over here and do this. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So we're going to go over here to Pro Tools and we're going to swap over to our audition template. Resize this window so that we can see. And we're going to go. The most significant breakthroughs, the most iconic wins, the history-making moments. They don't happen by accident, and they rarely happen alone. Breaking through requires teamwork, day in and day out. But not just any kind of teamwork, day in and day out. But not just any kind of teamwork. Teamwork that operates like clockwork. Elite synchronization, seamless alignment, where every person knows exactly what they need to do. And when we nail it, when each of us executes flawlessly,
It's poetry. When we break through, it won't be because so-and-so did this or that person did that. It will be because each and every one of us did our part. Welcome to Breakthrough, Unstoppable Together.
Cool. All right. We're going to copy our silence, paste our silence at the beginning, tab through. We did proper punch and roll recording, which means our edit is super, super fast. There it is. Edit is done. Grab everything, hit our automatic crossfades, turn on noise reduction, and we're calling this breakthrough. Breakthrough. Enter, enter. Come up here, reply to job. Hit our response template. They actually want live directed session. There we go. 300. Select our file. See how many people are in line in front of us. 6. All right. There we go. Delivered. Not bad. Not bad. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. We are nearing the end of our normal time together. Yes, go ahead and save that. Let's see here. How much more time do we have? Wait, that's not the right one. Let's go episode 20. Open, open, open. Episode 20. All right. We got some editing left to do on the podcast here. You know what? Why not? If someone wants to come in and ask about the microphone that's in my face, you're welcome to do so. And who knows? Maybe we'll keep getting more and more audition notices. But for right now, we're gonna get back to work on this.
A lot of fun stuff.
You know, I think maybe it was Michelle that said on this podcast that the bottle it's like the first way that most people So let's see here. That the bottle is. Switch over to shuffle mode. This podcast that the bottle it's like the first way that most people interact with your product. It's the thing that they see, and it's the thing that they see and perhaps that they feel. It's, long before they taste or smell your product, they're going to be looking at a bottle. And so, yeah, it makes sense that is a key part of the product.
People.
And let's let him cut me off because I sort of like trailed off into nothing. Sense that is a key part.
People are gonna pick.
And doesn't he give us a yeah? A key part. Yeah. Model. And so, yeah, it makes sense that is a. Let's do this. We're sort of reconstructing how this conversation went, and you can do that when it's a purely sort of entertainment or whatever style product. If this was news, this would start to border on like no-nos, at least in the newsroom, such as it was, that I sort of grew up in, if you will. These kinds of edits would be like, you can't do that. Product, they're going to be looking at a bottle, and so, yeah, it makes sense.
People are going to pick it.
So we're gonna get kind of creative with the crossfade here. Yeah, it makes sense.
People are going to pick it up.
And we're going to let Ian's noisy ass sort of let us bridge that gap. Yeah, it makes sense.
People are going to pick it up. People are going to hold it. Depending on the price point, people will have various expectations when picking it up. So how heavy it is, how sturdy it is. Does it feel cheap? Does it feel premium? Again, depends on what your positioning is, what your budget is, where you are on.
When you get familiar enough, certainly with your own voice, this is something that, especially if you're doing audiobooks, you'll learn to recognize in the waveform what your own ums look like, what your own breaths look like, what a breath that is fine to keep looks like, what a breath that is like, oh, that's an awkward catch breath, or it's a breath that is riddled with, weird sinus and nasal cavity noises. You'll learn to spot those kinds of things. And I have edited enough of Ian's audio to be able to recognize some things. So we're actually going to be
not listening to every word in this podcast. We're going to be skipping forward. We're going to be spot checking anything that is, a potential for a weird or a weird transition or something like that. So that's what we're going to start doing from here on out.
Your positioning is, what your place. Again, what is the youth nightclub? A lot of different things to consider. And again, the goal of this is maybe to open people's eyes. Oh, actually, in year 2, I'm going to focus on this segment, and it might make sense if my bottle isn't. Oh, sizes, certain textures, certain feels, certain packaging formats, and what.
There we go. Turn it to shuffle mode and listen to this transition.
Certain packaging formats and what.
Sounds good
as well. So, it's a really, really important part of the brand itself.
Let's see if this transition works.
Really important part of the brand itself.
Sure.
And definitely you should take the time to consider all the options before to kind of picking the one that looks the nicest, say, or the one that's the cheapest or most cost effective.
I can imagine that can be an overwhelming, decision among millions of decisions that a brand has to make. So, like, is that something that you help with, or like, what do you do?
No, there is like.
Okay. Is that something that you help with, or like, what do you do?
There is, like, you can look at bottles for days. There are brochures out there, like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalog.
Ian lives in New York, and I should have asked him to stop and say, like, we would come back and like re-record this part because there's some loud vehicle or something happening outside his window in New York. But maybe we'll just put a marker here. We won't even name it. We'll put a marker here, and maybe that's going to require some automation later. We're going to automate out like not a full-on high-pass filter, but we'll do some EQ automation, drop out the low mids during this section, however long it is. So his voice will become thin during that portion, but that'll be less distracting than hearing this like whatever that noise is.
There's out there, like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just, so many shapes, so many sizes. When you think of potentially doing something custom, again, how creative you can get and how big your budget is, the kind of big your
Ooh, was that 4?
Your budget is.
Yeah. All right, let's go shuffle mode, delete that.
Big your budget is, the kind of sky's the limit. But there are a few other considerations in terms of, again, end user, where's scope out, what kind of bottles fit within that. Because definitely when it gets down to making a decision, you tend to have this episode is kind of.
See, I spotted this as an just from the waveform. Whatever, I know what Ian's ums look like.
This episode is.
I doubt this works.
This episode is kind of.
It's actually fine. Let's hear with a crossfade.
The goal of this episode is kind of give you some ideas, give you some thoughts, and then as you're putting them together, it might help you kind of narrow down your search essentially.
All right. Well, what's the first step? Let's do this.
Search essentially.
Well, what's the first step? We're gonna delete this first one here. Well, what's the first step? Where do we look first here? Okay. Usually our podcast is really well planned out. We've got a super, super solid outline. But this one is sort of like, I don't want to call it down and dirty. But this one, we were sort of like, let's play this one by ear. Let's just move through this material that we want to get through. And so the flow, I think it came out better than it could have, for sure. But we did we meandered a little bit, but we got to our destination for sure here.
So I would say there's 2 options to start off right out of the gate. Is custom versus stock. Stock bottles, essentially, for anyone not in the know, mass produced.
We're leaving that, we're leaving that in there. We need that pause, and rather than paste in some room tone from Ian, we're going to leave that in there. I think it's fine.
Narrower, thinner base. The benefits, you can see. The benefits.
This one, however, we are going to try to delete. See?
As you can see. The benefits of a stock bottle, obviously, is that it's mass produced, it's pretty available. when it's produced around, they're relatively easy to get. You have a huge number of options to choose from too. So depending on what you're looking to do and whether, again, it's going to be on a rail in
Freddie G, what is up? Thanks for stopping by. We're editing a podcast.
a rail in again, there's so many options that you can go through there. Some potential down.
There we go.
Through there. Some potential down. Sometimes some of the larger brands, the pandemic, when glass shortages, and that's where you can potentially.
Probably deleting this.
Became apparent, and that's where you can potentially pivot into the customer.
So we're just zooming through.
Price point is
spotting the ums. We're getting pretty good at spotting the ums. Cutting those out.
What your price point is, you essentially have to pay a price to get a mold created. Costing will dictate the price, so you can.
We just heard our email notification, so we're going to check real quick and see if that's a voices.com email, and if it is, we're going to see if that's something we want to submit an audition for. Let's take a look. Video voiceover, lower budget, only a 90% match. I wonder why. Because role announcer. We want the voiceover to sound like a football coach. Okay, like I get this. I get what they're saying here. Big Pharma is gaming the U.S. patent system and driving up drug prices and healthcare and costs for all. So, yeah, I'm usually not your sports guy, just in general. And it just sort of like works out that even though there are a variety of different roles in a sports area. Oh, has it, Freddie? Yeah, my stomach is diet, both in the broad sense and in the like the day-to-day, hour-to-hour sense. Diet is really important. For me, the biggest things are like on recording days, no dairy before I'm recording. But I do have to eat something, or like you ask, stomach growling will interrupt recording. So for voiceover sessions, it's fine. Like you just pause until it goes away, and then you come back. But for audiobooks, like if my stomach starts growling during an audiobook recording session, like, I might have 2 more hours to go, and my stomach's not going to stop growling until I do something about it. So definitely have to plan ahead more. Yeah, it's annoying. And I'm sure somewhere out there in the nearly 36 audiobooks I've put out, I'm sure a stomach growl has slipped through and has made it to distribution. Hydration and diet. Those are the keys there. Let's mark this as red, and we'll go back to that later. Or we're gonna check this off screen real quick here. We might have amazing news or just whatever news. Okay, we have positive but not definitive news. It's fun. I like to share stuff, especially when there are auditions that happen like on the stream. If those lead to a booked job, obviously I want to share that when I'm able. The problem is once you book a job, it's very frequently you're under an explicit NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. But even if you don't sign anything to that effect, it is very much like an industry standard to assume you're under an unofficial NDA and not talk about or even divulge that you got job X or Y. Certainly not publicly, but even some of these clients get really, really prickly even about, sharing stuff with like significant others. Like it's that intense. And, usually like the more prickly a client is about that, those are usually your higher paying jobs. And so you want to take it more and more seriously. And so I do take it very seriously. Like I I'm certainly not going to do anything publicly. So this stream is all about auditions. The auditions, as far as I'm concerned, they're public. They're public enough that I don't think a client's going to get mad that I'm doing these auditions. If they do care enough about this semi-public forum getting out there, then they will obscure their own name in their sample copy, which you see very frequently. So you just read, oh, like the company does this and this, and that's fine. But then obviously when you book that, like that's once you are booked, it's embargoed. You cannot talk about it until the thing, the product, the ad, or whatever it is, until it goes public, it has been released. Then it's okay to put it on your portfolio or whatever. Just super important to keep that in mind. Okay, this script, this is all to say, we're not going to do this audition. I'm not your football coach guy. Like that's just not me. So we're gonna pass on this audition. Also, only a 90% voice match because they picked announcer as the role, which like I get they had to pick something, but I think coach is one of the available roles that they can select. So very strange. Anyway, we're passing on that one. Oh, this one just came in. Haven't even got the email about it yet, so that's why we are potentially very, very first. Let's take a look here. Get ready for corn shucking good time. Okay, the Louisiana Corn Festival. I'm curious if they actually want a Louisiana accent, but we're going to go ahead and open... Oops, wrong project. We're going to open our audition template right here. And we're going to do this audition because we have the potential to be first. And being first is how you get booked on voices.com. So let's go for it. We're not going to go over the top. We're going to hope that music and visuals will sort of bridge the gap of energy. So we're not going to be like super wacky, like, so let's see how we feel with the first read here. Get ready for a corn shucking good time with the 36th Annual Louisiana Corn Festival, June 13th through June 15th. Come enjoy family fun with the Mitchell Brothers Carnival Midway. Mitchell Brothers Carnival Midway. Carnival Midway. I think that's right. 13th through June 15th. Come enjoy family fun with the Mitchell Brothers Carnival Midway on 13th through June 15th. Come enjoy family fun with the Mitchell Brothers Carnival Midway on Thursday through We're going to do a cut there. With the Mitchell Brothers Carnival Midway on Thursday through Saturday. Thursday night is family night with free grounds admission. Friday night, come party with Wicked Waters and the Chi Whiz. Local arts and crafts vendors will be available. Like us on Facebook. Follow the Rose of Corn. Available. Like us on Facebook. Follow the Rose of Corn to the 36th. Available. Like us on Facebook. Follow the Rose of Corn to the 36th Annual Louisiana Corn Festival in Bunkie, June 13th through the 16th. Wait, what? Here it says 13th through the 15th. Here it says 13th through the 16th. Whatever. It's what they wrote. Obviously, if they book us, they'll send us an updated script. And we'll read that at that point. So let's do our edit here. We did punch and roll, so our edits will be nice and clean, but I do believe we sort of left a longer gap than we probably want. Let's see if this is a good... Carnival Midway on Thursday through Saturday. Thursday night is family night with free grounds admission. Shorten. Wicked Waters and the Chi Whiz. Local arts and crafts vendors will be available. Shorten that quite a bit. And the Chi Whiz. Local arts and crafts vendors will be available. Like us on Facebook. Arts and crafts vendors will be available. Like us on Facebook. Follow the Rose of Corn. We're going to delete this for pacing, and it's mostly just pacing. Like us on Facebook. Follow the Rose of Corn to the 36th Annual Louisiana Corn Festival in Bunkie, June 13th through the 16th. All right. We're going to put our automatic crossfades on. We're going to turn on our RX noise reduction. And we're going to call this
2024 LA Corn Festival. Here we go. Reply to job. Select our template. Come over here, put in our quote. LA Corn Festival. 3 responses already in line ahead of us. So we are number 4 or thereabouts, which is a good place to be. And there's another new job. Holy. Granger, Canada online video spots. English. So this is one that we're not going to be doing because Granger, Canada is producing new online video spots and requires the voiceover to be in both English and French, specifically with a Quebecois accent. That is not us. I have done a couple of audiobooks, and in this series, there's a recurring character who has a Quebecois accent. She utters a few French words here and there, but it's mostly speaking English with a Quebecois accent, which is it's a very interesting accent, and it is quite distinct from a French accent. It's much more open, but it's a fun accent for sure. But obviously, we are not the right talent for this. So they're looking for very, very specialized talent. So good luck to the Quebecois person who books that job. Very good. So that's everything there. We're gonna go back to our podcast. Go ahead and save that. Back in podcast mode. Here we go.
So you can essentially, depending on what your agreement is with your supplier, you can move that molds to different production facilities in Asia, in the US, or in Europe, wherever you're producing this bottle, and you have a little bit more flexibility. Okay. It's custom. You can order what lead times are, but then again, the expense to get it created.
Let's clean this little spot up here. We're in shuffle mode.
To get it created, the expense for all the tooling and the expense for all of the trials. Again, it can be expensive, but definitely pricing you want in terms of both options.
Let's go ahead and cut that.
On what you want in terms of both options.
I have a question about... Okay.
Both options.
I have a question about... Let's give that a little bit more breathing room.
Both options.
I have a question about...
What you want in terms of both options.
I have a question. A little bit more breathing room. I find that my initial training in radio was like, time was just everything. Edits were so snappy. But for podcasts can be as long as they need to be. So you're not always editing for time. You can let things breathe a little bit. So we're going to try to let these edits breathe a little bit.
In terms of both options.
I have a question about the mold, and maybe this is a silly question, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Is the mold, is that an intellectual property, or is it are you talking about a physical, I'm imagining like a giant... I have a question about the mold. Let's see if I can make myself sound a little bit more intelligent here by eliminating this. About the mold, and maybe this is a silly question, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Is the mold, is that an intellectual property, or is it are you talking about a physical, I'm imagining like a giant like cast iron thing into which molten glass is poured? Is it both? Is it the IP of the design and the physical?
It's essentially both, yeah. Okay. So it's the same as when you're getting like a recipe made, like depending on how much you want to pay, you can own the entire thing. You can own the IP. It's trademarked. Only you can use this shape. Or sometimes with agreements with certain vendors, they might be like, okay, you can pay for it, but we'll bottle. But obviously, if there's custom engraving of the brand, there's a few different options you kind of want to go. You kind of want to have a 10+ year together. And sometimes
we'll get rid of that. That's a nice clean edit here.
Together, and sometimes your bottle supplier might be able to pay off over 100,000 costs, and you can pay off over. So there's a lot of flexibility because, like I said, looking at to help you kind of make that decision. It can also sometimes be infinite, and with that, it's hard to make those decisions, and that's what to fruition. But again, that's where we can kind of help kind of narrow it down to ask you the questions essentially that you might not be asking yourself, that helps you get it closer to the kind of finished bottle shape that you're looking for.
It's interesting that you bring up the
Let that breathe just a little.
It's interesting that you bring up the idea of potential scarcity of this supply. Idea of potential
Let's delete this the. There we go.
That you bring up the idea of
Nope, that sucks. Let's try making the edit point here.
bring up the idea of you bring up the idea of potential scale.
We're gonna try to make this a mid-word cut. See if this sucks.
You bring up the idea of potential
it
scarcity.
works great.
You bring up the idea of potential scarcity of this.
Maybe we shorten it just a little.
The idea of potential.
Maybe a little more.
The idea of potential scarcity of this supply, because I just think like, well, glass is. There's always glass, right? But I guess, in this industry, given the volumes that we're talking about, that is a potential concern.
You would be absolutely surprised, and not just the glass itself, but the raw materials used for the glass. And there are brands out there that are selling millions. If you're a smaller brand, their bottles. So if you're a smaller brand, just even getting your product on shelf can be so difficult, because getting your order
Shorten
in
this pause
smaller
here.
brand, just even getting your product on shelf can be kind of like the golden question of which suppliers do you use. Do you use a small supplier who might be a little bit more expensive, a little bit newer to the game, or one of these seasoned huge vendors, but then again you could get lost or get bumped several times in the double, tripling, quadrupling their traditional orders, because they have all the space, they can stock, and they can put on their traditional orders in their traditional orders.
Let's go ahead and give him this edit here. Be nice to Ian.
Their traditional orders, because they have all the space, they can stock, and so that if for whatever reason you're opting to maybe do and pivot to China or in Europe, Chinese New Year. So earlier in the is that if they can't finish the order by that New Year, they won't even start it. So if you have an order, they're back rested, and then they'll start that order again, and then those couple of weeks which they could be off, can imagine. And then those couple of weeks which they could be off, you can imagine the number of orders coming in again, and you're being put. But then what you can find now is that glass can be certain product is not quite there too. So it's kind of like a much of it and now can't. Maybe they're certainly cheap because so many people bought so much of it and now can't. Maybe the
let's put that here.
Bought so much of it and now can't.
Right.
Maybe the demand for the end product is not quite there too. So it's kind of like it is something you kind of want to weigh up, whereas like, do I buy 4 years of glass and pay all the storage fees, or do I kind of be so there's a lot of things to consider. Another brain to help you make that sometimes difficult decision.
It's interesting to think.
Shorten that.
Brain to help you make that sometimes difficult decision.
It's interesting to think that
Decision.
It's interesting to think that even if you theoretically have your ducks in a row, external events can affect things. My mother has been in the food industry. Can affect things. My mother has been in the food industry. Can affect things. My mother has been in the food industry for decades, and that she for decades, and this company she's working for just finished construction for decades, and this company that she's working for just finished construction on a state-of-the-art new production facility to make this food product. I'm being vague on purpose here. So this brand new facility, they're to make this food product. I'm being vague on purpose here. So this brand here. So this brand new facility.
See if I can make this edit here. This will be interesting.
So this brand new facility.
Yep.
So this brand new facility, their capacity is greatly increased. And just as they're starting to fill all these new orders that they're able to take on, the factory that makes greatly increased. And just as they're starting to fill all these new orders that they're able to take on, the
the factory that makes the film package to take on the factory that makes the film packaging, the plastic wrap for this food product. There was a fire at this factory, and they don't own that part of the product. There was a fire at this factory, and they don't own that part of the supply chain. They don't own it or anything. And that was like the only company that like had all of the materials and the designs and all of this stuff. And so suddenly they can make all of these food products, but they have no way to ship it. They've got no way to put it in a package in which they can deliver. And so they're kind of stuck with all this food product that's just kind of package in which they can deliver. And so they're kind of stuck with all this food product that's just kind of, they're warehousing it as best they can until they can find, a deliver. And so they're kind of, they're warehousing it as best they can until they can find, a new supplier for this packaging. But like, I mean, it's not glass, but it's, it's the same thing. It's what your product goes into, and that's how it gets to shelves.
All right. Someone out there might be like, well, Jimmy, you're spending all this extra time editing yourself. How selfish. Well, you edit the damn podcast.
Shelves.
Those are the general nightmares that keep me up sometimes. And it's very hard to plan for that. Essentially, your major supplier going up in flames, quite literally. But what we do, especially on our team, is that we do like a risk mitigation kind of talk with brands that we're working on. So when we help like create the product, we've sourced all of the materials and packaging, we tend to have at least 2 other options, because when we're getting pricing, we're going out to tender, we're talking to various label suppliers, various bottle suppliers as an example. So we never tell them that you might come calling, of course, but definitely we always have of something terrible happening. And yeah, kind of advice I would always have for anyone in supply chain is just not having all your eggs in one basket as best as possible, because these instances, while few, then losing out on sales because you like fallback options is really, 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 really important, I'd say.
So we talked about.
Okay, these are just fumbling noises.
Really important, I'd say.
So we talked about, with custom versus stock, and we talked about, amortizing these big expenses for custom bottles, which definitely brings back nightmare flashbacks to financial accounting during my MBA. Financial accounting during my MBA. So thank you for that. But so that's sort of on the business side of things. What about, I guess, like as far but so that's sort of on the business side of things.
Let's see here. Let's just make this a little more concise.
So that's sort of on the business side of things. What about, I guess, like as far as what the customer sees and what they expect and what they're willing to pay for and why and all those questions?
Okay. That leads them into the next thing here.
Yeah, so even before then, kind of one. Yeah, so even before then, kind of one really important step that a lot of brands miss out on is that who is actually filling these bottles. Depending on what your price point is, if you have a high volume, low margin product, you really want an effect for label, because the more the cost of bottles can skyrocket because of people. So again, designing your products, round bottles, just general advice, round bottles that are not tapered, as in they get bigger at the bottom or larger at the bottom, those are round bottles. It's even easier to. So those are things, as an example. So those are things I would consider. First, I might be a distillery, so it might be okay with whatever product I want to bottle. But if I'm looking to outsource my capabilities, but if it's more of a premium product, there's a bit more budget there. More manual processes can to be captured. More manual processes can be okay.
Fine.
Rectangular bottle. Rectangular.
Okay, weird sound there.
A triangle, rectangular bottle, that could be a bit cumbersome. So they might be able to be automatic.
Let's get rid of that.
So they might be able to be automatically filled, but then it might need to be hand labeled. So again, trying to find the product that fits best within what your co-pack looks. So just kind of not harping on our services a lot, we tend to power we have who want to quote for this business, because to get the most accurate quote we need to have as do a round bottle, and it's going to be a simple job. This is kind of where the pricing simple job.
Let's go ahead and make this cut just to flex a little bit.
It's going to be a simple job.
Good.
It's going to look like. But if you decide to do something kind of fancier, one-off, more like commemorative box in terms of like not getting your hopes up and doing something new. So those are definitely super our job easier if you know that the end customer wants to use it in a certain way, and then that makes a co-packer we need that can brand owners kind of get their idea off the ground.
So if I had a brand and I came to you and I said, hey, I've got a tequila brand, and you know, it used to be like the unique bottle was the Milagro, because it was a very tall. It's I've got a tequila brand, and hey, I've got a tequila brand, and you know, it used to be like the unique bottle was the Milagro, because it was a very tall. The Milagro, because it was the Milagro. I don't know what I did there. Bottle was the Milagro. Because it was a very tall, thin bottle. It doesn't fit on any normal shelf. And now the crazy bottle is the Clase Azul. You see that out there? It's sort of like the very big, and like when you see it, you don't even think like, oh, there's liquor in that. So
he called it a pepper grinder. It does look like a pepper grinder. The Clase Azul.
You see that out there? It's sort of like the very.
Oop. All right. There we go.
Clase Azul. You see that out there? It's sort of like the very big. Like when you see it, you don't even think like, oh, there's liquor in that. So if I came to you saying like, I want.
We're gonna maybe here.
Don't even think like, oh, there's liquor in that. So if I came to you saying very big, and like when you see it, you don't even think like, oh, there's liquor in that.
Let's delete my own here and let him say
liquor in that. So if I came to you saying like, I want an even more wild out there unique bottle, would you try to talk me off the ledge, or would you have the discussion about like, okay, like let's make sure this works on the economics on both the supply side and on the consumer side?
So my goal always is to lean towards trying to help the dream become a reality. So I kind of do like a challenge. So I would just ask a lot of questions of like, why, firstly, because when someone thinks an idea is good, that's great. But if they have some research, or they have some people, especially on the retail side or on the bar side, who actually can talk to it, because that's kind of like when I talk about like what I do is that I try to make products with people that I really like when I talk about like for someone. So I always lean towards.
This is a weird internet thing. Yeah, a little funny little artifact. That's on Riverside.
Towards kind of trying to make the dream a reality. So yeah, I definitely love a challenge, and that would be my first job, and come back with feedback. And if it was just too cumbersome, everything you want, it's kind of like that triangle of like was it price, quality, and timing. So like you can get a good price and good quality, but it's going to take a long time, or you can get everything you want. It's kind of like that triangle of like you can get two of the three, but you can't get all three. So it's like, was it price, quality, and timing? So like you can get a good price and good quality, but it's going to take a long time, or you can get pricing and in the right time.
We talked about that earlier on the stream.
Have some trade-offs and things that you're willing to kind of sacrifice for things that are different. It's the best way to is there. And then
we got lots of ums.
And then and if that's not the case and the pricing is too high, and
so let's see here.
What else is there? And then and if that's not the case and the price.
So all right, we're gonna go to shuffle mode. Certainly deleting this.
is there, and then and if that's not the case and the price
Maybe here.
there, and then again if that's not the case and the pricing is too high and the pricing is too high not just on the bottle but on the filling, and then also you have like how do I get it from the distillery to the actual distributor, so like is it safe, is it I would lean towards interesting bottle, but depending on what their needs are and what they're trying to do, it actually sometimes is better to be towards. So I would lean towards interesting bottle, but depending on what their needs are and what they're trying to do, it actually sometimes is better to be realistic and just say, hey, this is not worth it. Let's kind of find a middle ground.
So Ian won't necessarily rain on your parade, but if need be.
I do a lot, honestly, but I do it comes from a place of like a friendly place of like it's not personal, it's just from my experience, which is why hopefully they're paying us. So, but no, like I said, this is the most interesting. But no, like I said, this is the most. This is.
Let's delete it here.
Like I said, this is the most interesting part of the brand building process. I think when you're like kind of come up with a name, and the bottle is just like probably the second piece. And I think again, it's something that a lot of people don't really consider. They just find something they like and they go ahead with it. Whereas like we think so far out that actually going by this information, it might be better to pivot or do something else as an example too. But that kind of leads.
Okay, we're going to shuffle mode, delete this. We're going to check our email, see if that ding is a new voices.com job, and it's not. There we go. I am busy. That's right.
Something else as an example too. But that kind of leads nicely into the next point I want to talk about, which is functionality. So you had mentioned it briefly just before I went on that rant. Whether you intend this to be poured at a restaurant, in a bar,
let's see here. Let's get this.
On that rant. Whether you intend it, the shape is really, really important. So you ideally don't want something that. So you ideally don't want something that
Better.
is slippery. If you want to be on a bar. If you.
There we go.
Slippery. If you want to be on a bar, because bartenders will be the deal breaker for you. If not cheaper or.
Funny little. I think he keeps hitting the desk. I think he's hitting his desk, and that's causing a big bass boom.
They will find something, if not cheaper or just easier to use. So, if you're looking at retail. So, if you're looking at retail and you're looking at decent volume, you don't want the bottle to be slippery, picked up. But also you don't want it to be too big, and suddenly it's making the bartender's life as cumbersome. So bars, talk to bartenders too. If it's something that products, so how easy is it to product like like you mentioned a traditional tequila bottle. Most people can spot tequila vodka. So do same with not so gin, maybe more so vodka. So same with
Let's just do this.
same with vodka. So do you want something that pops off shelf straight away, as in like, oh, I know what that is. Like, why is it in a colored a liqueur? What is the case? And I found that there's good data to support both options. There's good data to support both.
And grab here.
There's good data to support both options. So again, depending on maybe you are better, you want to maybe, and then also just getting
And make this cut.
products too, and then also just getting it from a high-end product. It really has to be for padding, poly bags as an example. But again, depending on where you see it.
Maybe.
But again, depending on where you see it being used more so, that really do. But again, depending on where you see it being used.
Can we make this transition?
Depending on where you see it being.
That's good.
It being used more so, that really kind of ties into the quality in terms of product. If you want something that is going to be like have like a propensity for like fingerprints and whatnot too, so you kind of want to pick a design that maybe is black. I want to pick a design that a design a design
Maybe here.
a design that maybe is black and dark, so that dust doesn't look as obvious. Products can sit on shelves for a while. So again, there's loads of different things you want to consider, but functionality is probably really.
So this is going to go where?
So you kind of want to pick a design that maybe is black and dark, so that dust doesn't look as obvious, because some of these like high-end products high-end products can sit on shelves for a while.
Yeah, let's put it there.
On shelves for a while. So again, there's loads of different things you want to consider, but functionality is probably really one of the most important. And then from there, work backwards through the supply chain to identify your co-packer who can handle that, who can actually supply that bottle too.
Yeah, you sort of touched on it, but breakage. Okay. Here's a spot. I go into this story that's not super important, so maybe this is a spot where I cut out an entire section. The podcast is getting long. We're at 33 minutes as it currently sits. So if I can cut out this story, that'll cut out a minute or so. And potentially, if we can cut out some of Ian's response as well, if it isn't super relevant, then maybe we can even get this down closer to 30 minutes out the door. So let's see. How did I end this? Was like those things over the year would probably, or maybe they were insured and it didn't.
No, exactly. So like, it's really, really important to identify all of the risks. Like, it's not me or anyone within your kind of what you're looking for in terms of products too. Because again, while you might create something that you.
So what did he end with here? I just want to make sure this flows and that it's logical.
Supplier who can actually supply that bottle too. By your co-packer who can handle that bottle, and then the supplier who can.
So, okay. Bottles.
One for a year and move on to something else. So again, we asked all these questions so that we can get ahead of and build exactly what their kind of dream product is.
And so we were handling all kinds of... Okay. Well, so this is where we get to the problem-solving portion. Because, yeah, okay.
Kind of dream product is.
Very nice. And if anyone out there listening has like more questions, they want to find out more, other than just going back and listening to all the prior episodes of this podcast, what else can they do? Do they find your email and shoot you a message? What's the next step for a brand out there? I think we do this. I think we just go watch that entire response there. I think that's what we do.
Your co-packer who can handle that bottle, and then the supplier who can actually supply that bottle too.
Very nice. And if anyone out there listening has like more questions, they want to find out more,
can actually supply that bottle too.
Very nice. And if anyone out there, let's cut it here, maybe.
Supply that bottle too.
And if anyone out there listening has like more questions, they want to find out more, other than just going back and listening to all the prior episodes of this podcast, what else can they do? Do they find your email and shoot you a message? What's the next step for a brand out there?
Yeah, like we do a lot of like free consultations. So this could be like the earliest. You might have had just an idea today of like, I want to start a brand. How do I start? You might have no interest in for the next year actually doing anything with it. I definitely implore you to reach out. I want you to go onto the website and check us out. I want you to go onto the website and reach out. I want you to go onto the website and check us out. You to go onto the website to reach out. I want you to go onto the website and check us out.
Syllable by syllable. I'm not exactly sure what he says here, but we're just going to leave it as is.
Or you can put my email address in the call. We definitely do a lot for free in terms of just helping you get to a point of what do you need? Are you fundraising? Like maybe here's some people you can talk to about getting capital or getting some like ambassador or getting some like ambassador or getting some.
And here we go.
Capital or getting some like ambassadors to help getting some salespeople too. So again, that could be like a half an hour chat, and then you can talk to us afterwards. So definitely check out the website. You'll see a lot of the cool products that we've worked on previously. Reach out to myself directly or through hello email at MHW, which will go to our marketing team. And yeah, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions anyone has, or even jump on a call to kind of go through those questions in more detail.
Well, very good.
Well, thank you, Ian, for stopping by to share your expertise. And I know.
In more detail.
Well, thank you, Ian, for stopping. And we're actually, this is the point where we're going to cut in our closing music. So we have our opening music here. We've already got this transition just how we want it, and we're happy with that. And now we're going to put in our closing music, drag it right here. And we want it to come in sort of kind of like a stinger. So it's going to come in loud when Ian finishes his thought here. So let's actually get this lined up right about, yeah. And let's hear that.
Those questions in more detail.
Okay. And it needs to come in at its, quote, full volume, which I believe we've decided is like negative, what is that? Does that look like 6? Let me just delete these real quick. Yeah, sure, -6, that's fine. And then it drops down to, what is this value right here? -18 is our quiet volume. So we want to let this music roll for a bit. Let's figure out how long we want the music to roll for. Well, thank you, Ian, for stopping by to share your... Actually like that just how it is. So keep this at around -6. And then we're going to drag this. Hello. We're going to drag this to be about right here. Again, -18-ish. Don't be too precious about whether your automation is like, you know, it's got to be exact to the 10th of a decimal. It's fine. Well, thank you, Ian, for stopping by to share your expertise. And I know that we've got some exciting plans to sort of have you back on in a recurring Let's see if I can speak the English language. You back on in a recurring. Maybe here on a recurring sort of function to share more little bits of information. So thank you for today, and thank you for the future. Okay. Sure.
I appreciate it. Always.
Maybe here for the future.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for the future.
I appreciate it. Always a pleasure, Jimmy.
Okay.
Jimmy.
And thank you, listener. And we don't need that laugh.
Jimmy.
And thank you, listeners, for joining us on the MHW Mark podcast. This podcast. Okay. MHW Mark podcast. This podcast is produced by me, Jimmy Moreland, with booking and planning support by Cassidy Poe. It's presented by MHW. Find out more at mhwltd.com or connect with MHW on LinkedIn. Lend us a hand by subscribing, rating, and reviewing this podcast wherever you listen. We'll be back in your feed in 2 weeks. We'll see you then. Cheers. There we go. Now let's adjust the end point here. Around -18, maybe like right here. And we want the fade in to sort of coincide there. And we come up to about -3.6. Feed in 2 weeks. We'll see you then. Cheers. I think that's plenty good. All right. So now I'm going to do a little bit of noise reduction on Ian's parts. Now we've got, let's take a look here. MHW co-host, RX10. Beautiful, beautiful RX10. Can we please make this active? Hello. Make active. So the way this works is it's got to learn. So you give it a section of silence. It's noisy silence, and we can even see that in the waveform here. We click learn, then we press space. Out there. How are things in New York, weather-wise and business? So yeah, I'm talking during that, but if I muted myself during, we'll hit learn again. So during this time, RX is listening to this section of silence, and it's identifying that, like, okay, this is what the noise in the rest of the track sounds like, so that when we cut this back up. Now that it has identified this noise profile, if we hit space here,
weather-wise, it's good today. It's kind of either
it's so much cleaner. Here is bypassed.
weather-wise, it's good today. It's kind of either been torrential.
And with it on.
Weather-wise, it's good today. It's kind of either been torrential.
In the middle of it, it's not so obvious, but where it will be obvious is at these transition points. So listen to, this is with it bypassed. Listen to this cutoff here.
In the area.
I don't know how obvious that comes across on the stream, but there's very much like when this clip ends, there's a like that hiss of the noise in this background goes away instantly. But with this on,
to put on your radar if you're in the area,
it is less noticeable. It is less intense for sure. In fact, this is much more, I think, characteristic of the more offensive noise. So we're actually going to recalibrate the denoise to this section here. So we're going to hit learn. I think that's a better place to do it. So now when we press space here, it'll be pretty intensely obvious, I hope.
Radar if you're in the area.
Super effective. Very, very good. All right. Now we'll double check our levels real quick. Unmute me. Things in New York, weather-wise and business-wise. L3.
Weather-wise, it's good today. It's kind of either been torrential rain or sunny, so it's kind of like reminds me of being actually at home.
All right. Well, up here in Maine, in only very, very occasionally causing the limiter to have to work, and that's perfect. That's what we want. So let's see here. Let's double check our channel strips.
Well, up here in Maine, in vacation land,
compressors aren't working too hard. That's great.
It finally feels like spring. It's wonderful and beautiful out there. How are things
Ian's
in New York, weather-wise
EQ.
and business-wise?
Weather-wise, it's good today. It's kind of either been torrential rain or sunny, so it's kind of like reminds me of being actually at home in Ireland, where like you leave the house with sun cream, sunglasses, shorts, raincoat, umbrella.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a. There's a sort of a boominess to his room that he's in. Unfortunately, not everyone on the team can have a room like we are in. So that is what I'm going to call good to go. We do want to, however, check this one spot that we marked where there's some kind of vehicle noise passing through Ian's background.
There are brochures out there, like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just.
That is unfortunate, and it's not a pure like low rumble of like a heavy truck. It sounds like someone with a really stupid, coffee can at the end of their exhaust pipe. So this is interesting. We are going to automate the channel strip here. We do that by clicking our little automation button up here, and we're going to do this with this number 3 here, this high mid frequency, and it's the frequency that we want. No, it's not. It's not the frequency. Sorry. It's the high mid frequency gain. EQ high mid gain. That's what we want. Because we're going to set the frequency. That's this one here. We're going to pick where we think that silly engine noise is most prominent. And then we're going to automate the gain, the up and down at that frequency. So we're going to shrink this a bit. And we're going to use the EQ sweeping thing. You may have heard of this trick before. We're going to use the EQ sweeping to try to really nail down the most obnoxious frequencies here. So let's do this.
Like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just, so many shapes, so many sizes. When you think of potentially doing something custom, again, how creative you like.
Okay, seems like here is where it mostly is.
For days. There are brochures out there, like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just, there are brochures out there, like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs.
So let's hear that with this dropped and see if we're right.
For days, there are brochures out there like kind of Christmas.
So you always want to sweep both ways. Like you can totally fool yourself by sweeping one way, and that ain't it. So let's sweep on the negative side.
For days, there are brochures out there like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just for days, there are brochures out there like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just for days, there are brochures out there like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just for days, there are brochures out there like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can.
That's seeming more effective right there. What is that? 230 hertz. That's seeming pretty effective, and I don't think we're going to get too much better than that. So what we're going to do, hell, we might be able to really have some fun here and actually record the automation. But let's make sure that we know exactly where it starts and where it ends.
Got bottles for days. There are brochures out there.
So right where this current marker is, I think is
got bottles for days. There are brochures out there
That's
like
right
kind
where
of
it
Christmas
starts.
presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just so many shapes, so many sizes. When you think of potentially doing something custom, again, how creative you can get and how big your budget is.
Okay, and it stops about right here. So we'll put another marker there just so that we can visually see it. We're going to open the automation down here, change it to our EQ gain, and let's have some fun. Let's actually do it. We could double click our line and like drag it down and just automate with the mouse. But we're going to automate by actually hitting the right here. And basically we're going to hit play, and then we're going to drag down the knob when we want it to come down, and then drag it back up when we're done. So let's see here.
Look at bottles for days. There are brochures out there like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just so many shapes, so many sizes. When you think of potentially doing something custom, again, how creative you can get and how.
There we go. It's kind of ugly, but you can see that's effective, and you can watch it here on the EQ itself that it does work. And we actually just set it to read the automation so that when we hit play, you'll see it on the EQ that thing drops.
Bottles for days. There are brochures out there like kind of Christmas presents or holiday present catalogs. You can just so many.
So it's not perfect. That's the way it is, and that's very much like we're not going to spend hours in post trying to fix something that is only happening for 7 seconds, 5.5+ minutes into a podcast. The modern listener is accustomed to hearing Zoom or Zoom-like audio. They're accustomed to hearing this exact situation where one person, the host, is perhaps in a nice, well-treated environment, and someone who is a guest or an interview subject or someone like that is calling in or what have you, and they have less perfect audio, and there might be environmental noise, but Ian is perfectly intelligible. You can understand what he's saying during that clip. We've made some efforts to mitigate, understanding that we're not going to completely remove that sound. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think that this is sounding good, so we're going to first select everything, hit Control F to apply our standard crossfades. We are not going to adjust existing. Just double checking that is not something that's going to happen. So now every single transition and clip here has a tiny little crossfade on it. That just makes life so much easier. And now we simply select, oops, don't do that. Okay. We've got our entire track selected. Here we go. We're going to hit save before we bounce this out. Oh, we want to turn declick on. So make that active and make sure we've got the right settings. It's at 4.0. We're going to set that to 2.2. 4 is what I used for a long time, but I found that there are many situations where that's just a little bit too aggressive, and I really don't like it. So that declick that we just briefly brought up, that is applying to my voice and to Ian's voice, even though I've only got one instance of the plugin, because both my track and Ian's track are running into a bus, this all vocal bus down there. And so any effects that are applied to that bus get applied to both of our
our tracks. So that bus is where the majority of like compression is happening. Whereas on our individual tracks, that's where like EQ and that kind of thing is happening because we're in different rooms on different microphones and all of that. So we shape the sonic character, if you will, on the individual tracks, but then when it comes to getting a consistent level across the entire podcast, that happens on the bus. And then on the master track, that's where the limiter goes, just because that's how we know we're going to be happy with the end product. So this is all it. It's good to go. We're going to bounce. We're going to call this episode 20. And that's going to the wrong place right now. It needs to go into our right. Bounces, podcast. Use that one. And bounce. You know, I don't even need the MP3. I upload waves because I'm a professional. Bounce. Okay. So that's it. We have edited a podcast live on the stream. And now I need to hydrate a whole lot more because I have got a very long and intense voiceover job ahead of me. And I actually feel like ain't no way I'm going to get it delivered today. It's an e-learning type project, and it's over an hour of finished audio. And I think I've got plenty left in the tank. I've got the vocal stamina right now to where I could do it. But we got plans. We got places to be. And it is 4 p.m., coming up on 4 p.m. Eastern right now. And we got places to be like around 6 p.m. So it's just not going to get done. Ain't no way. So we're gonna end the stream anyway. So I hope that folks enjoyed whatever this stream was today. An extra long one today. We went 3 hours instead of the usual 2. But we got some good work done. We got a ton of auditions in today. Mondays and Tuesdays tend to be the big days for auditions to come in. So I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Thanks, Freddie G, for leaving some chats there in YouTube. If you catch us live, I do have both Twitch and YouTube chat up to where I should see it in my peripheral. Feel free to bug me more than once, and maybe I'll see it after that. But even if you want to leave some kind of comment after the fact, I will respond to YouTube comments after the fact. So feel free to leave something there if you've got a question about something that you saw in the video or about any of the gear or software that I'm using or whatever you've got. I'll answer questions because I love talking about this stuff. So thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Good luck with your auditions. Let me know how they're going, and we'll see you next time. We'll be live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. So thanks y'all so much. Bye.